Your commercial go and Lindsay use it so.
It's actually, well, I have a buyer, it's a doctor. I'm not racist, okay? But you know, Indian people,
Hello.
right? They don't trust anybody.
Oh.
And they complain about everything they want. If they see that truck, they want 3,000 of a credit. He put a home inspection and I told him, you know, you can
Can you guys please unmute?
All right, can you hear us now?
Yes.
We were on mute because we were saying things that probably shouldn't be recorded.
Okay, that's a
So it was
disclosure violation.
intentional. It was intentional. So, okay, this morning we've got the very exciting disclosure training. So we're going to make it as exciting as possible. But before we get into that, Anthony is online. And Anthony, what do you have for us this morning? We can't hear you.
I know, I'm trying to get myself off mute. I think I did it. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yep, yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, so I think we've talked about it a little bit in the last meeting. So a week ago, rates were cut, right? And so everybody was excited, rates are cut, they cut them by, 0.25%. So there's obviously we've seen a lot of talk in the news about this rate cut. And so crazy enough, right after the rate cut, pretty much directly right after, the rates actually went the other way a little bit. So we're kind of stuck in a spot right now where they're trying to figure out whether we're going to go up, whether we're going to go down. So it's just like I talked about before. I mean, they're directly related. Obviously, the Federal Reserve, when they cut the rates, but they build a lot of that into the rate cut, in advance. And so now any of the market moving news, they're talking more about inflation. I don't know if you've heard more of that in the news. All those kind of things are kind of resurfacing. So the rates actually over the last week have kind of trended up just a tick. So I think the biggest thing that we just got to remember, when people are saying, because I feel like a lot of people are on the sidelines kind of waiting to act because they're thinking, oh,
Yeah.
there's going to be more, more rate cuts happening. And so everybody can hear me okay, right? There's going to be more rate cuts happening. And so there may or may not. So this might be the best time to get off the fence and get in the market because rates are actually pretty good. Low sixes, high fives, sometimes mid fives, depending on the type of loan program. It's a great time to get in. And so I think we just got to make sure we're educating our buyers because you got to remember a lot of the times we don't have the first contact as a lender. A lot of the times the first contact is you. And so you've got to be able to overcome that objection to at least get them to a lender so that we can actually see where they're at and help them understand that buying a home now, and not waiting is basically the better thing to do. So anyways, I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that, it's not a guarantee that rates are going to continue to keep cut. I mean, we hope that they keep continuing to cut the Federal Reserve, the rates, but they might not. And so if they don't, this might be as good as it gets for a while. So buyers should at least see where they're at and be ready to go so that if something does come available, they can act on it. So.
I'm hoping to win the lottery, but there's no guarantees, right?
Exactly. So hopefully that
Especially if you
helps
don't play it.
Yeah, especially like Jackie said, especially if you don't play it. So they're hoping, that rates are going to go down, but unless they really get in the game and get qualified, they don't know. It's what you're hoping. Okay, does anybody have any questions about what Anthony just talked about or anything in general with lending today? Do you have any questions?
Nope.
No? Okay. Oh, I forgot to do the drawing. Jackie's pushing the box in my face. So I'm gonna shake this up. And how much what is it?
100 because we started all over again.
Oh yeah, we started all over again. We had a winner. So here we go. It's Romy, and Romy's up here. Is she?
She is. Well, she was earlier.
I'm here. I'm here.
Oh.
Woo!
Romy won. Awesome. Congratulations, Romy. So Romy is the winner of our $100, and then we will be starting over. Oh, next week. No training next week. Because Jackie and I are going to be gone. So.
And the following week, no training
And the following week, no training because we're going to go see Gov.
Yeah.
So that's happening. Bagels with the broker is normally the first Thursday, but because Jackie and I are not gonna be here, it's gonna be the second Thursday this month in October.
Okay.
So I recently sent you guys the graphic for the dog adoption event in Visalia, which is this Saturday. And you know, I'm always telling you guys, dog adoption events, use this as a touch with your clients. Well, I walked into the Visalia office this morning and Chelsea was there, and Chelsea warmed my heart and made my day because she used the dog adoption event and had a great response. So I'm gonna let Chelsea tell you what happened, what she did, and what happened. So take it away, Chelsea.
Hi guys. So yeah, I used that graphic. I came up with something on ChatGPT that was like super warm and basically was like, hey, if you can make it, great. If you can't, share it. Also, if you need to like help buying a human home, I'm here for you, just kind of as like a warm sign off. And I sent it, first of all, we sent it to mine and Kelly's whole CRM. We sent it to everybody, people that weren't in Visalia, Three Rivers, Woodlake, Porterville, everybody. A lot of people were like, I'm going to share it because I can't make it. There was some Three Rivers people that were like, yeah, we can make it. So we're going to come. But one thing I did do is I also took it to my Facebook and Instagram. I kind of went back to ChatGPT and I asked for a Facebook one. And I was reaching out to people that normally I don't talk to, like people from high school, all of that. And I got so many actually great conversation starters and a lot of people that were like, I actually was looking to buy. So I'm having at least 2 or 3 people that are going to be going to my lender to be pre-qualified just from that one graphic. I didn't change the graphic, I didn't do anything to the graphic. I literally just sent that with my little ChatGPT response to them. And then the other thing I did was I went to my Instagram, I did the same thing, just any messages that I recently talked to people or like whatever, I just sent it to them. But I also went to local businesses. So I went to Soulful, that Doppio Espresso that we have, the can lattes, I went to them and I just said, hey, as a business owner, would you be able to share this to your Instagram so that we can help people, you know, in terms of community? I've had so many responses from people. It's honestly, I have to go back today because I did it all last night. Facebook actually wouldn't let me message any more people. They were like, you have to stop. So like it just wouldn't send anymore. And I've had so much just overwhelming responses just sending that graphic out and so many conversations. And it was free and easy because it's a community event. People want to help, you know, in the community versus sales, I guess. You know, they want something that's like helpful and not like, what can I get from you? So it was the most easiest thing. I'm so excited. I've had a ridiculous amount of just outreach from it. Me and Kelly did, and we got a donation too from some random guy in our CRM that's not here anymore. He's down south, and he's like, I don't want to, I can't make the event, but I want to be able to help the dog. So he's like, where can I donate? It really is like the best touch that you can do, and it's totally free. Even if you can't make it, send it to people so that they can be like, hey, this event's happening. And then they see you as a real estate agent, but you're also helping the community. So you're basically a superhero. I love it. It was great.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you, Chelsea. So it's what I do these events for. Obviously, I do it to help the dogs, but I do it to help you guys too. And it's free. I mean, Chelsea's got 2 or 3 appointments out of one graphic, which is amazing. And then I was talking to Angelique driving over here, and we were talking about Zillow. For 5, they guaranteed 5 leads. It's $2,000.
Oh my God.
5 leads. So we know those Zillow leads, just based on the numbers, you're not going to get 5 good leads.
Yeah.
You're going to get maybe one, maybe for $2,000. So you can either pay for leads or you can learn how to nurture your own leads. I made that graphic. Romy made the graphic.
Mhm.
It's free. Look at the return she got on that, and it cost her nothing.
Mhm.
So that's why I know I preach to you guys, SOI, events, open houses, but these are the ways that we get leads that will sustain you. Paying $2,000 for 5 Zillow leads, you may or may not get your money back. When I was doing all the deals, when I was at the other brokerage, and it was, 80 to 100 deals a year, I didn't have Zillow leads. It was all SOI. So
Mhm.
do not forget about the power of SOI. and what it can do. And they're easier converts anyway, because Zillow, they're online, they're poking, they're doing this, they want to talk to somebody, they're not loyal. They're just not.
Yeah, no.
They're not loyal.
They want you to show them the house on Saturday because their realtor is not available to
That's-
show them the house
Yeah,
on Saturday.
It's a lot of that kind of stuff. But anyway, I walked into the office and Chelsea shared that with me and I was like, yes, makes me so happy because that's exactly what I do that for. Exactly what she's using it for. So, okay. Enough for me. Let's get on to disclosures.
Gonna have Connie go first.
Miss Connie.
Oh,
was
my
down in
goodness.
Reimagine. Tell it, share with
Okay.
us, Connie.
So I am, of course, back from San Diego, the CAR meetings. I had 3 meetings that I attended, which was risk management, professional standards, and how to stay out of court. So those 3 all pretty much talk to each other, and Gov is going to have a lot of great information for everybody. I'm going to just go over some things that I thought were really important. And I won't take too much time, and I'll try to stay out of the weeds, but I do want to play on Chelsea and Anthony, because some of the biggest conversations that people were having was about being authentic and being real and controlling the narrative. You know, it's more powerful now than ever that we show our value, not only value in our knowledge, but value that we are committed to our community, to our brokerage. We are so fortunate to be with such an amazing brokerage that gives us the education, because that's one of the biggest problems in risk management is lack of education that make people end up in court. So thank you, everybody that has spoke and educated us. Jackie and, Sarah always have great opportunities for education. So I just want to say, first of all, thank you for Sarah being a great broker, because I'm exposed to a lot of them because I travel with CAR, and I'm telling you, this is a priceless place is downtown. So congratulations to everybody. I wanted to get that out of the way because that's super important. Anyway, let's first talk about the TDS timeline and disclosures. This was an interesting situation that happened. Because we have a lot of cancellations and a lot of people are still very much on the fence, they try to find one tiny little thing to cancel an escrow in the middle of an escrow after due diligence and everything has been completed. And that is an incomplete TDS. And if that TDS is not complete, and you should never send that out without going through it completely, making sure every X is X'd and every explanation is made, because that can turn a positive into a negative real fast. The other thing that they really stressed is that Avid needs to go out with all of the disclosures. So your Avids, and I'm sure that Jackie's going to touch on timeframes and timelines for when Avids and everything need to go out, but they highly recommend it in risk management and professional standards that you get those TDSs and Avids out at the same time, all disclosures, but those Avids need to be done. The SPQ is an interesting product because you have to remember that the SPQ is going to protect your seller. I know that sounds odd, but it does, because disclosure law is the biggest reason people get into court. And the biggest one is material facts. Material facts do not have a timeline. It could be something that happened 10 years ago. And if you were the buyer or the seller, and you possibly, one of the ones to remember is that a lot of times people will forget that their toilet's backed up. It was a one-time thing, but those roots gone in the pipes and they had it done. So it's the close of escrow, the new people move in, the new buyers move in, the next door neighbor comes by and says, hey, did you get those lines inspected? Because they had, rotor-rooter out there all the time. That is a material fact. And that can go back 10, 15 years. There's no statute. So if you know, disclose. Don't ever, it is the biggest reason why people end up in court. So if you know, disclose, and sometimes you're just like, well, nobody will find out, but they'll find out. So that was the biggest takeaway. And the professional standards and risk management that was their by far the biggest one. The other things that are coming up, which are real interesting, is our NHD report. That's not anything to take lightly, especially in our area. You need to know and understand what hardening and the defensible space is, because what's coming up, and maybe Anthony, you'll be able to chime in on this. CAL FIRE now and some lenders, CAL FIRE will do a report to let you know that that property is qualified or it has had the right work done to make it safe for CAL FIRE to get in to save that house if possible. Because if there isn't defendable space, they can't get in to protect the property. So that could be a report that is going to start being required by any homes in a fire area. Have you heard that, Anthony? Oh, he's muted. So,
Yeah, I have not heard that yet, but usually you guys hear about it first.
oh, okay,
and
first,
then
okay,
but
well,
then
be aware, yeah.
and then the big thing too is, a lot of the times, when we do have fires, and you guys have probably been in this situation where, where fires are going on in California and they're not funding the loan
Yes.
because they have to go back and check and make
Yeah.
sure that even though they've done the appraisal, they've done everything, they got to go check and see that that house is still existing before we can fund the loan. So those kind of things obviously do happen on our end.
Yeah, so in California, they're still trying to figure out who's actually going to be doing these. So they think it's going to be CAL FIRE, but every community has its different disclosures, but we are in the middle of this NHD fire hardening a defensible space. So that's a really important. I used to just kind of go past that because I know that whoever you use, SNAP or whoever, they're getting us all those reports, but that is becoming a really big issue. The other big issue is our homeowners associations. They are going to start requiring a reserve study plan. We've had a lot of issues with homeowners, HOAs not having enough funds. And again, you might know about this too, Anthony, that if there was a problem with the association, there's not enough funds in their reserves to rehab a pool, or the biggest thing is balconies. We don't have many balconies in our area like you have in San Francisco and LA, but the balcony issue is becoming a biggie because it can also be something that's not safe, somebody falls. So yeah, the whole reserve study and the balconies for HOAs is going to be another big ticket item, and that is supposed to hit January 26. So that's coming down the line, and that would also be a lender issue. Let me see what else. I have so many notes and I don't want to bore you guys to death. There's another situation that we're seeing in all of the, so what happens are all the regions get up and speak, all the regions in California. So they all get up and speak, and they'll explain what issues they're having in their areas. And the biggest one is the BRBC still. So that's been going on since it hit us, whenever that was. When did that come into play? Since the NAR settlement. So anyway, BRBCs are not being used correctly. There's a lot of issues with the coming soon situation. Gov is going to talk about that next week, so I won't get into that. And the coming soon, the BRBC, and people still don't know what to do at open houses. So I'm sure, I'm guessing maybe that you guys will address that because it's also the policy of the brokerage. So I won't get into that. But the BRBC is still something that might even come up. Gov's going to talk about it next week. He alluded that there are some changes coming. The RPA is changing again. That area that says this was intentionally left blank, that's going to be full. So be prepared for that. And he didn't disclose what those items were. But the biggest, some of the biggest stuff is the disclosure issues. And then there's a new company called Show Amy. Has anybody had anybody?
In LA.
Okay, so what's happening is because we are so affordable and we have people call and say, well, I'd like to show your property, but I'm not available. So then you get a text. Now, I haven't done this. I've not been involved in this, so I'm repeating what I've heard. But you'll get a text, and it's an agent from LA who has hired somebody through Show Amy. It's SHOWAMI, who's hired somebody locally to show that property. So that is a BRBC violation because they have a third party showing your property, which is confusing for your seller. So CAR is on this, our local association is on it as well, but it has popped up. So It's a third party showing, so they send it out kind of like a Zillow lead, and then a Tulare County agent will pick it up and do the showing, and then they are paid through an app is what we're hearing, and they do the showing. So your seller doesn't really know really who the buying agent is. So it is a violation. Now, the BRBC, from my understanding, does cover if it's agency to agency, but we're trying to clarify that with, when that would be a local brokerage situation too. But if you get those, be very wary because they're having trouble with that third party showing.
Okay.
Those are the biggest topics.
Connie, our internet froze right at the end of defensible space and right at and we missed the start of HOA.
Okay.
Talking about the defensible space, is that only for high fire areas or
Yes.
high fire areas that have acreage? What is that?
If it's in a high rated fire zone, you would have to have
So everything in Springville.
everything in Springfield, everything in
Yeah.
Camp Nelson, everything in Shaver Lake, Bass Lake. Yeah, it is it's not a huge hit for us. CAL FIRE is trying to be very proactive, and they're working with them. CAR is working with them very closely to make sure that whatever those reports look like, they're done in a timely manner. Because just as Anthony said, like last week in Shaver Lake, they couldn't close anything because of the Garnet fire. But now that has been resolved. But be prepared because that is coming. You're going to have an inspection, just like you have a roof inspection or anything else, because they're going to determine if there's also an issue with roofs, because there's new like fire safety roofs that are becoming more of a conversation, and they're going to probably want to see that more in the high risk areas like Shaver Lake, any high fire risk. So you need to understand that.
So you have to have an inspection, and is that inspection done by CAL FIRE?
That's what we understood at the meetings. Now, who knows? It could be somebody else, but it's CAL FIRE that currently does the inspections. So they're thinking that they'll just fall into that and then do the report and saying, yes, this is fire hardening. They've cleared all the grass away and the trees have been trimmed up and everything looks good. But it's
Who triggers that inspection? Buyers?
Well, it's interesting. Their conversations was like, it should be always the seller's responsibility to have that home prepared.
Okay, before they close and ready to go.
Before,
Okay.
yeah, because the
Okay.
lender could call it out. The lender could call out and say, or the insurance companies. So because we have the California Fair Plan, a lot of people have that dual insurance situation. So that's still conversation, I believe, that's still on the governor's desk. I think that's still kind of in a space, a gray area, but Gov is going to recover that. He was going to cover that next week or the 8th, whenever he's going to be here, but we'll have more information from Gov on that. But that's a big area.
You know what else is interesting about that, Connie, is if you think about protecting your seller, right? If the seller gets that and then CAL FIRE signs off, look, everything was taken away from the house. Because what if they didn't?
Yeah.
And the house sold, and then a fire started, and then the buyer said the seller didn't had all this brush. And you know what I mean? You
No,
could sue
absolutely.
for anything. You could
You know-
sue for anything.
Well, and here's the deal too. Remember years ago, buyer beware? Do you remember that, Sarah?
Yeah.
That's no longer allowed in California. Our disclosures are so tight, and it is so important for us to be educated and know these forms because you can't fake it anymore. It's critical to protect the brokerage and to protect your buyers and your sellers. Don't be afraid of any inspections. I don't care what they look out, how horrific. Get it figured out, negotiate it, get it signed off. Make sure your buyers sign every piece of invoice inspection
Yes.
that they receive, because that's another big risk management. They say, oh, I never saw it because they didn't sign an escrow. So the quality
Right.
control at the end of our files is absolutely more critical than it has ever been before, because they're always after us. They think we are big pockets, and we have great attorneys at CAR. And they're always trying to protect us. So it's just critical that every little check mark is done. And that TDS is critical because that can change the whole timeline on a cancellation, as you know.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, review those before they go out and look at your prelims.
Yes.
Solar is another big deal. And I think he's going to talk more about solar. But those are the biggest ticket items that I came away with. Oops,
Oops, what's going on?
did we go away?
No, we're here. We can hear
Okay,
you.
my screen went black, so. Unless you guys have any questions, education, I can't say enough that education and be authentic, be in your community they're after us every day as far as the slightest little things, so. Those are my tidbits from CAR.
Very good. Those were good. Thank you so much, Connie.
You are so welcome.
Okay, Miss Jackie, what do you got for us?
Some of the big items that I feel agents fall short on is it's on the MLS, but it wasn't in the contract. So then we have an issue. So the MLS said that they will put in a new roof. If you did not put it on the contract, it is not part of the deal. If on the MLS that you put as a listing agent, the drapes do not go with the house. If it's not in the contract, you need to make sure that contract is countered with the drapes are not going with the house. Anything that is going to be a deal breaker for your party needs to be in the contract.
Anything excluded and included should be in the.
Yes.
So just because it was on the MLS
Yeah.
does not mean if it's not in the contract, it's not in the contract. So therefore it's not doable. So let's say, for instance, because I had it happen one time, seller says, hey, we'll leave the fridge for you. We're like, cool, leave the fridge.
Yeah.
Then my buyer moves in and there's no fridge. It was never on the contract. So we can't get mad because we never put it in the contract.
Right.
It has to be in the contract. Personal relationship or what you are in the party of the transaction. If you are a vested interest, if you are a family member, it needs to be in the contract before it is an executed contract. So if I am representing my sister on the sale of her house, Jared submits an offer and he does not put anywhere in the contract that I am related to my sister-in-law. And the contract is like ironclad, almost perfect. The minute I execute that contract, I am in breach because it needs to have that I am related. So I had to send him a counter, not an addendum, a counter stating my relationship.
That's what I did with mine.
Yeah.
If I am representing myself, if I am a signer for the entity, I have to disclose that I'm there. Even though like, oh, it's obvious I'm the buyer's agent and my signature is the same name. It's obvious. It's not, if it's not disclosed that you are the same person, you are not compliant.
And not only on the contract, you should put it on the TDS as well.
And MLS.
You're gonna put it in the MLS, you're gonna put it in the contract or a counter offer, and also in disclosures. Put it in there.
But you're saying before offer and acceptance, right?
Mhm.
Before, yeah, because that's what I corrected with one of the buyers that I have. I said he was the agent, he's the buyer, and I said,
Yes.
hey. You have vested interest on this property, so you have to disclose it. So we counted it with him naming as the buyer and the agent.
Yeah.
as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So you just gotta get it in there. I mean, if I put it on the MLS, but if I see that, if I'm writing an offer and I see that the listing agent has put that, I put that in the contract, so I
Other
don't.
terms? Or where do you put it at?
Other
And then
terms.
I get the contract.
Other terms, yeah.
Okay.
And so that way they don't have to counter me.
Buyer acknowledges.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same as when I'm putting an offer and I know the flip, whenever I know Courtney's on there, even though I know Courtney's a licensed agent, I add him in there. It's cover everything so I can. Marty?
Question for you is because of my sister being the lender.
Mhm.
And she's my preferred lender, but sometimes I don't even know that I'm dealing with that lender until I get a pre-qual. So do I have to disclose that? Cause I did call one time and they said we didn't because it's a lender.
Yeah,
But
that's the
she
stuff.
has to disclose, she has to disclose herself.
I
to this
think-
family member.
She probably has to.
Yeah, she
I
has
don't
to.
think,
She has
and
to.
if, especially if you are receiving, if you're the listing agent and the buyer is using Berta, I don't think that was the buyer's choice. But if you are representing a buyer,
Mhm.
I had that
Yeah, cause I
from,
called NAR and they said, I didn't.
No,
they have the office, the last transaction I have in LA. They have disclosure stuff, the lending company.
But that is
Using
only,
that.
that's only in the case of where Sarah has her MLO license. If she was practicing and had business and direct
I'd have
revenue
to be
covering it,
affiliated.
she needs to
Okay,
disclose it as an
affiliates, yeah.
affiliate. You don't get any money from Berta.
So you don't
You're
have to
not.
worry
Now,
about
if you're representing Berta as a principal, as the buyer, you have to.
Okay. Just if you have questions about that, reach out, because I've had agents say to me, oh, there's an email. I don't care. Oh, it was in text. I don't care. It's gotta be somewhere that both parties have signed and acknowledged.
Mhm.
Okay.
And keep in mind, when in doubt, like Maurice did, call Car Legal. They
Yeah.
are our friends. They are here to help us.
Yes, they are not there to get us in trouble. You can call car legal. They're not going to then turn you in if you tell them a situation. It's not what they do.
That's actually on Connie, it was just one of my worst. I had to deal with a lot of legal stuff, so I was calling because she told me to call. Somebody tried, and I'm telling you, they will tell you.
They're amazing.
They're not here to judge, right?
No.
They'll tell you what the best is for the company, you know.
Yeah.
for us
Yes.
to-
Now, if you haven't noticed,
Yeah, those
our documents change always in June and November. And every now and then, in the middle of the year, at random times, we will have updated documents. So a few weeks ago, we had questions about doing an addendum, and we're like, which one do we do? So we're doing the regular addendum, number one, the normal one. And then while we were there, we discovered there's the APD one as well. So the differences are, an addendum is used when you are making a minor correction or something that you have already pre-agreed on together. So you do not use it for changing a list price unless you guys both already agreed that we are changing the contract price. If it's gonna be a proposed, like, hey, agent, listing agent, seller, I want you to reduce the sales price because for repairs. That goes on an amendment of existing agreement, because that gives the seller the opportunity to accept or reject that change. An addendum is used to make a correction. An addendum generic is what you will use now for modifying the listing agreements, which is between you, the listing agent, and the seller, or our buyer rep agreements that is between buyer's agent and the buyer. So that it's labeled principals versus buyer seller. It says principal 1, 2, 3, or 4.
So for this one is, so we don't use MOD now?
You will use addendum generic for a listing modification or a buyer's rep modification. Because in many cases, if you're trying to change excessively long stuff.
Okay.
Versus modification of listing of terms is for change of list price and change of the contract date. But if you wanted to do like something major of changes in there, that's when you want to use your addendum generic, because it's a longer space to write in.
Yeah.
I didn't know about this document until weeks ago.
I saw that one.
Amendment to prior disclosure. So while we were dealing with Marty's funky situation one, we're like, okay, where do we write this addendum as? And so we discovered that they created an amendment for disclosures. So we used that one and we put which disclosure we were amending, because we are amending the TDS and the SBQ. We wanted to be more specific on what was going on. Amendment to existing agreement is the one you use when you are wanting to change the contract and you have not pre-agreed to it. So one of my pet peeves is when a buyer's agent sends me a change of sales price, which I never agreed to it. We never even had a phone call about it, and you're just sending me this. I don't even have a place to reject it. So when they get upset with me because I refuse to sign it, is you use the wrong form because there's no spot for my client to hit reject.
Yeah.
And then they tell me, well, just print it out and write reject and have them sign that. It's like, no, just do your job and do the right document to begin with, which is amendment of existing agreements.
Question, Jackie.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's say I had, well, I did it after MOD, I did an MOD back then, and then, but the date was incorrect on the listing date. So it was, instead of August, I put June, February. So which form do I have to use?
And then generic.
Okay, perfect. Oh,
That would be your best way to correct it.
That's correction of the date, right? Yeah, listing date.
And if in the event you use the wrong one, like an addendum,
Uh-huh.
it might not be a big deal. Okay. In many cases, as long as everyone's okay with it. But nowadays, a lot of these agents are going to Real and EXP, And Real and AXB like to ask for unnecessary disclosures and documents. And then they have TCs that want to challenge every little thing, which in reality is at some points, Missy and I or Athena and I will go and we're like, let's just call card legal and double check. Cause even though we are feel comfortable that we know what we're doing up against this random TC from out of nowhere, we go back to CAR to confirm, like, are we doing it right? And in many cases, we have one again that we were doing it right to begin with. So for many years, we've always used just simply addendum for everything.
Yeah.
So old school agents are in the bad habit of using addendum for everything. I'm gonna add a new buyer. I'm just gonna do an addendum. No, you're supposed to be doing assignment agreement.
Assignment of,
But a lot of agents will still do on the basic addendum.
Yeah.
As long as lender and escrow and everyone else is okay with it, technically it's okay. It's not ideal, but it's okay. We've done it for many years.
Some of them too, when the lender actually did, it's like we did with amendment, but then they wanted to be where the contract is. So you
Yes.
have to do it like amend your contract where you add another party
Mhm.
and involved on the buyer side. So
And
you
have
have
the-
to write it down.
Yes. I personally, if you're adding a new buyer, I know it's a pain in the butt. It is time consuming,
Yeah.
but that new buyer should sign and initial everything.
Yeah.
All over again. It
Yeah,
doesn't
and that's
matter
what happened
that
with the-
technically the amendment is sufficient. It covers yourself so that way they know
Yeah.
they saw it all. They can't loophole and say, well, so-and-so never saw this. He would have talked me out of buying this house if
Yeah.
he'd seen the inspection report.
Yeah. And I think that's what the lender asked us to do, because I did it with my daughters, we added a buyer.
Yeah.
And it's like, no,
Have them sign everything, yes. Tenant estoppels. So, if you don't ask for the tenant estoppel, a tenant estoppel is not done. If you do not submit for one, it won't get done. So personally, I've seen it done two ways. I've seen it where the listing agent goes out and gets a estoppel signed and filled out and returned to the buyer's agent. I've had where as a buyer's agent gone out and got the estoppels filled out. In a sense of which is right or wrong, honestly, I discovered that when I went and did it, it benefited me because the tenant engaged with my buyer. And then the tenant also told us what weird stuff the seller had done on their agreement. So what didn't reflect on the rental agreement because they had a lot of verbals. So it allowed us to understand and know what the greater scope of it than just a estoppel being handed to us from the.
Plus, if you have a shady listing agent, they could fill it out themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the whole purpose of a tenant estoppel is so to see that the tenant understands the contract agreement that is in place and it aligns with the rental agreements that were given. Because oftentimes verbals get changed along the way that all of a sudden I give them a discount once a year because they service the swamp coolers for me. And if it's nowhere in writing, but the tenant knows
And the
that.
bigger one is the security deposits. They start fighting over security
Yeah.
deposits. Oh, I gave a security deposit. Oh, well, we didn't get it in escrow. It didn't get transferred. So that way you know, hey, the tenant says they paid this. I want those transferred to my buyer through escrow. Because they need to hold those deposits.
Yeah.
Because when they move out, they're gonna have
You're
to
gonna have
find it.
to.
Yes, and if you're having the tenant be served notice to be evicted prior to close of escrow, make sure you request a copy of that. Make sure you know that a copy was given to you, that it was done. We've had agents where they were told it was given and then later discover it was never given. So,
But beware, if somebody gives a notice to vacate, if the seller does, and they do not vacate
before you take possession.
before you take possession, the buyer's going to have to evict them. And if the seller starts an eviction and does not finish it and the property sells, the buyer has to start a new eviction.
The 60 days start all over if
It
the person's
starts
been there.
all over. So if your buyer wants those people out, that seller has got to make it happen before you close the escrow. Or else the buyer has to do it.
Mhm. Solar. We love our solar so much. Okay. As a listing agent, Be a good listing agent. Get that copy of that contract before you list it, before it goes on the MLS. Put a copy of that contract on the MLS. And more importantly is make sure the solar questionnaire is filled out with it. Now, as a buyer's agent, we sometimes are at the mercy. We had someone right now that had a buyer's listing agent that repeatedly said it was on solar. Turns out there was 2 PPAs on the property, and they were struggling to get the paperwork because the listing agent kept on adamantly saying it's own solar. It was a pain for them. And it can be time consuming. Do not lay off your timelines. So if you are the listing side, disclosures need to be given out by day 7. There is no reason for you to not have your disclosures done before you're even listing the property or while it's in showing stages. Because keep in mind, nowadays our houses rarely sell within the first day. They sell within a week or 2. You have enough time to get disclosures filled out before you're negotiating offers. There's no reason for us to be waiting on those.
I have a question. Okay, so if the solar's paid,
Find out who the solar company is, find out their transfer process after the fact. So that way you at least have that information to
Yeah,
give.
but see, sometimes when it's paid, there is nothing to give.
You can go onto the solar panel, has the address of who you would be giving it, so you can find the web link.
Yeah, but
that
this
gives
is
the
prob-
directions.
That doesn't always work.
Yeah.
So on Elkhorn,
having-
on my own property, I bought that solar. That solar company is gone. They're not there.
Mhm.
I had nothing to give. There's nothing. There's no company to refer to. There's nothing. Which you don't need it,
Okay.
because as long as you're hooked to the grid and there's no UCC filing
Mhm.
as a lien, it's fine.
Okay.
Because there's no lien on it, so that takes away that part of it, right? Escrow can check and see
Yeah.
if there is. They don't service the equipment. Once you own it, it's yours. So there's really no need for
What
that.
about warranties?
There are no warranties on that.
Okay.
There was no warranties. There's no warranties.
And that's too, I've seen it like, they put a lien on the property through solar and the solar company, it's not existing anymore.
That can be a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
So mine is gone. I had no lien because I paid cash. So there was no lien, but I also had nothing to give to the buyers.
Yeah.
And they kept, I have nothing, there is nothing to give you.
Maribel?
Second question, okay, the disclosure, say you go out and give all the disclosures. When do they expire? Because on Mirage, it's been 6 months. I don't know if I have to. I'm
Technically,
literally.
they don't expire. However, what you gotta keep in mind is any disclosures that have changed in between. So like if an SBSA got updated, you wanna get the new one updated.
Mhm.
Then the other case too
That's what I
is
did.
double checking with the seller, hey, okay, we got in contracts, did anything change? You do the amendment to the disclosures so that you can update any
Yeah.
changes. Otherwise, they're still valid.
Yeah.
As long as nothing's changed.
As long as
Yeah.
everyone's comfortable with it.
I still went ahead and sent them all,
Mhm.
and I said, review them, and if you need to update anything, update it.
Yeah, so getting back to solar, when, a lot of times though, when it is on solar, you can't, there's like maybe an app on the phone, but I just didn't have anything. So
Mhm.
just for own solar, just get everything you can and make sure there's no, because a lot of times people say, I own it.
And they don't.
No,
And
they
they
don't.
yeah.
And escrow can help you with that sometimes too.
So reaching out to escrow ahead of time, finding out, hey, do you see any liens on there? As a listing agent, you have more control by doing the job. As a buyer's agent, we're at the mercy of whether the agent did their due diligence or not in communicating with their sellers.
And that same one that the listing agent kept telling him, oh, it's owned. The sellers were making payments. Oh,
Yeah.
so, okay, and they're like, no, we don't. It was an automated payment and these people had no idea. I mean, talk about being out in la la land,
Yeah.
they, obviously you're not, also not
Was
reconciling.
it on the prelim?
It was on the prelim and it was, however, they found out. And they are still and they're making
This
payments
one,
on it.
Mhm.
And it's not even owned, it's a PPA.
Oh.
So they're making payments and these people are like, no, we don't make a payment. Yeah, you do. It comes out of your bank account every month. And the solar company told them, no, they're making payments. It's not a payment, it's just your payment to them. It's not a
Yeah.
payment to own it.
Yeah.
You're never gonna own a PPA.
Mhm.
So solar,
Do your due diligence. It's a pain.
That's right, yeah.
Reports and invoices. Okay, going back to solar. Your client should be signing the solar agreements too, the copies of the reports. If they send you copies of the electric bills and what the electric bills have been like, have them sign it. So that's your proof of acknowledgement. When you are sending your request for repairs, you should be including the termite report, the home inspection report with it, at which point you should be having your buyer sign it if you haven't already done so. If a listing agent does repairs on the property and you submit copies of the invoices, you should be submitting copies of the invoices because that way the buyer has who to go to if a repair wasn't done correctly or malfunctions in the future. They have a reference point who did the work. That should be getting signed. If you're a listing agent, you should be having the buyer sign it. If you're the buyer's agent, you should be having the buyer sign it. You should be getting a copy of them. In reality, we've all fallen short of this. A lot of us have put in that as a not a big issue. And the reality is right now, buyers are paying top dollar and they're looking to sue for any little thing. Ironclad your contract, your paperwork by having anything that could be of material fact of importance signed and acknowledged.
So if there's any repair, like, let's say facial board repairs, those invoices has to be.
You should get it signed. Yes.
Get the invoice and signed.
Mhm.
Okay.
Always. It should always be getting signed. It's a habit we've all pulled away from.
Do you foresee,
Say something about. And, VC, so like everything that salaries paid for, just have my buyer sign it off.
You should. Yes. Because mind you, at the same time, then they have a phone number of who did the work. They have who to call. They have a copy
Yeah.
of it. It's always best practice. It's a bad habit that a lot of
And,
us have pulled
I
away
mean,
from.
termite inspections.
Always.
I won't
mandatory.
even let your files close now if they're not signed,
Yeah.
because we've had issues where the buyer's like, we never saw that. Well,
oh, wow.
and we have, if they signed it, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, maybe they didn't look at it,
Yeah.
but they signed it, that's your problem, but if
Yeah.
they signed it, we've got a signature. I will not close without the the home inspections being signed and the termites being signed.
And that's with the termite, they should be signing both the actual initial report along with the clearance if there's a clearance done. Ideally both.
Do you foresee sellers or listing agents just kind of giving you the runaround or like, oh, you don't need that, or not failing to provide it after you request it?
Always.
So the way to do it is using the fact on SBQ, it states any repairs that were done, copies and contact information is supposed to be given to the buyer.
Mhm.
So that is your ground to push for it. In reality, if you can't get it and your buyer says, I'm okay, I still want to close without having these, you have your proof of emails of attempted to get it, and you have your clients acknowledge that you tried getting it, we didn't get it, they're okay with moving.
Should just
forward.
print out the email and put scan in our file.
And then you can easily say, like, my clients have the right to cancel for failure to disclose this. At which point, if your client chooses to not exercise the right of canceling, then you did your part, you did everything. So when I had my situation and I called car legal, they're like, you did everything. And then when my client was upset later, I was like, you know what? The reality is I've given you the option to cancel every time.
Was
At
that
this
that
point,
flip? Oh,
At
yeah.
this point, if you choose to go forward, you also negating your chance to sue because I've already given you everything. I've given you all the potential flaws. It's your choice now. Your choice is cancel or go forward. They chose to go forward. So you gotta have yourself backed up that you did everything.
The one of two is like the roof certificate. That's
Roof
the
cert.
best, so that's one
Mhm.
thing that
Mhm.
a lot of people are.
Yeah, get that signed.
Mhm.
And then that was the core of it. NHG reports. Bad habit. NHG reports as a listing agent, there doesn't encourage you to go onto property ID, request your report, and have it with your listing on MLS. GMOZ, if you look at his listings, they'll have documents, you'll see his TDS, his SBQ, and his NHG report. There are good habits to have. During short sale season, it became common for us not to do those because it took a year or so before it even closed. So I never did a TDS or SBQ until we had a bank approval. That's when I did my disclosures. Now we are in a different world. We are back to a standard traditional form. There's no reason for us to not be getting our disclosures done as a listing agents before it goes into contract. When contract is being opened, disclosures should be getting sent out that same day. So Avids, as a listing agent, you have no reason for you not having done your Avid way back when. There's no reason for your Avid to be getting done after disclosures were supposed to be sent out. Disclosures go in the first 7 days. Avid should be done before that. If a listing agent Avid is given to a client, a buyer, way later, buyers have grounds to cancel due to new disclosure from when they receive the Avid from the listing agent. Now, buyer's agent Avid, that does not open up the disclosure window. Because as a buyer's agent, you just did your client a disservice.
Yeah.
As a buyer's agent, yes, you should be doing them early on. There are some agents out there that have so many different opinions in regards to Avids. I'll hear people that say how an Avid leaves you more open to liability. I'll just say this is if you get reported and DRE comes to do an audit on your file, one of the first things they're looking for is, did you do an Avid? That is your proof that you walked in that house. That is your proof that you wrote down what you saw. Okay, if there is nothing to see, either leave it blank or say nothing to see. For me, I usually find something. I treat it the way as an appraiser does. Anything an appraiser would point out, that's what I point out. So if the house is immaculate, I'm pointing out, is there a smoke detector? Is there a carbon
Yeah,
monoxide
Yeah,
detector?
that's a big one too.
About the Avid,
Mhm.
we actually, at Century 21,
Mhm.
we had, you know, they went to trainings and whatever. We were told that in our Avid, we don't write, oh, there's a window, there's
No.
this,
No, you
know.
don't need to.
All you point out, and you don't have to point, oh, there's a crack under the window, north side, no, you just write, there's cracks on the wall, that's it.
Yes.
And you
Yeah,
don't point
this-
out, because I was kind of, I'm a big fan of Rick Conway,
Mhm.
but in his Avid, he wrote like pointed out things, like,
Yep.
and it wasn't even having to do with any like
Yeah.
cracks.
I'll see agents, I'll put new carpet, new
Carpet,
paint,
No.
and those are no.
No, you don't.
And mind you, keep in mind though, I had an agent one time that they contacted me and said how the buyer's agent in my office did not know that there was a crack behind the toilet.
How can you find?
So I reverted back to that agent, read cover 1 of the Avid. Your job is to walk into a room, look up and down, and write what we see.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. and
What
if
do you
miss
see?
it-
Not opening doors, not turning on
Yeah.
lights, not moving things. That is not your job. You are not supposed to have X-ray vision to see
Yeah.
through if there is a stain behind the couch.
And that's
No.
something too, like, we don't know if that machine is working, like
Mhm.
dishwasher or.
That's not your job.
Yeah.
That's not your job. You are not to turn on things.
We
Yeah,
are
we
not
should
a
be
home
like a-
inspector,
No.
nor is it our job to sell the property on the
Mhm.
Avid. I've seen agents say, beautiful new carpet. No, you're just putting,
Mhm.
no.
And do not say stains. You do not know if it's a stain or not, because you do not know if that seller just did it and tried cleaning it.
Yeah.
It's discoloration,
Discoloration of
marks.
Yeah.
And keep in mind is the most important thing is to actually do your Avid. So if you're not gonna do it while you're there, take the pictures and go back to the office and write down your
That's
notes.
actually what I try, take the photos and then I go home and then do my.
Yes.
But
Avid should not be being done late at the end of it. It
Yeah.
needs to be
You
done
need to
early
go
on.
out with the disclosures.
Yeah,
Yes.
As a buyer's agent, it should be done when you did your home inspection. At the same time that you're sending out requests for repairs, Avid should be getting signed then.
And if
Yeah.
you're the listing agent, you've walked through the property, take the pictures, do it with your listing agreement, do it with all the rest of your disclosures.
Yeah.
If you don't want to trouble those sellers to sign it later,
Yeah.
just sign it all at
Mhm.
once.
Yeah, and sellers all day are only an initial and your signatures.
Yeah.
Okay, the other big thing, Oh, with NHG reports, another big bad habit agents have a tendency of doing. Some of us have broken away from it, but some have not. Is NHG reports do not need to just only be signed when they go to escrow. They should be signed at the time of disclosures. So as a listing agent, you should be making sure that's getting sent out for signatures and coming back to you signed. As a buyer's agent, you should make sure that's getting signed with all regular disclosures, not waiting until they go to escrow the sign to see if you get that copy back.
So that's for the listing agent, right?
Listing agent and buyer's agent, make sure it's getting done. Like NHG reports are disclosures, okay? Prelims. Prelims are good to have them signed too. You should be reading your prelim. Most of us are spoiled and we're used to escrow officer calling us up and saying, "Hey, here's your prelim. I noticed this of concern." But when we're dealing with escrow officers not in our area, it's very important. We need to be reading our prelim reports and having it doesn't hurt us to have them signed. It's not mandatory because they're going to sign it at escrow. But if you see something of concern, you should be having it addressed and signed. But all disclosures need to be done within 7 days. If a listing agent has not given you disclosures, send them their notice to perform requesting your disclosures. When an agent says, "Oh, we didn't get disclosures till like the very end," well, as a buyer's agent, why weren't you pushing back more for those disclosures?
Well, and realize, like Connie talked about, there's another loophole that buyers can cancel. If you wait to the end to send disclosures and there's something on there they don't like.
What I do is as soon as I get the NHD from title, I forward it directly to them. That's it.
Well, it should be part of your disclosures in general. So an NHD report, you can be ordering it before. You can order your NHD report the minute you have your listing agreement and say pay at escrow. And when escrow opens, you should be sending it to escrow. We're spoiled. Our escrow officers in Porterville order our NHD report for us. But most escrow officers, Visalia, everywhere else, they do not like to order NHD reports for us. They do not like to order home warranties for us. But Porterville, we are spoiled. These escrow officers order them for us so many times. And in reality, it's kind of shame on us that we should be doing it before because we need to make sure it's getting covered the right information, that we are providing all the information that is needed on there. An NHD report should not be waited to get until open escrow because the NHD report is going to tell you if you're in a high fire zone. It's going to tell you if you're in a flood zone. It's going to tell you if you need to be telling people to get your insurance quote to cover flood as well as fire. If you're waiting till escrow, you're kind of waiting a little too late. As a buyer's agent, it doesn't hurt to make sure it's getting done at the same time. Hound for them. And then the TDS, when we were talking about the incompleteness, one of the things Govs has pointed out is the few little questions at the very top of the TDS. Is anyone living in the property? That one's a common one people do not check. That leaves an incomplete one. Then the section above that where it says, are there any additional disclosures already done? Those being left blank is an incomplete TDS. So also leaves grounds for last minute buyer loophole to cancel. And that's basically everything I have. Anything you?
No, thank you, Connie. Thank you, Jackie. Thanks to everybody who attended. If you have questions, reach out.
Oh, check. We had a few checks.
We
Yes.
did the drawing.
Oh, I missed
It was
Talking to Rick.
Romy one.
Romy one.
Oh, that's good. Is she here?
Yeah.
She was online.
Jason, in regards to friends, no, you do not need to disclose friends. Only actual family members. I will disclose my second cousins because my second, third cousins are close to me like a first cousin. So I do count them. If I feel like it could be misconstrued, I do put those in.
Yeah, in-laws.
How about if you're divorced?
I would disclose it. If you were at one point related to them, I'd still disclose it. If you even are like, thinking, should I? Just do it.
Yeah.
Do it. It doesn't hurt.
That's.
I've never had a deal cancel because somebody disclosed they were related.
Yeah, I did have someone come back and try to say that my family member, my brother did not disclose our second, third cousin, which technically they are like far from us. That, mind you, let's be real. My relationship with Cindy DeGauli is closer than some of my cousins. Yeah, don't disclose that friendship, you know, but in reality, when it comes down to it, if someone could bring it to of a concern, just disclose it. It's better to be safe than sorry.
That's it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Good.
again, we won't see you next week. We won't see you the following, but 3 weeks, we'll be back.
Yeah.
October
I'll sign
8th.
up in there already.
I should see you at one of these.
Yes.
You should either be at the Visalia one or the one in Porterville.
Yeah.
I'll be in Portable.
All right, guys, have a good week.
Thank.
Yes.
You know, this Dr. I call her Shrek. Dr. Shrek is buying the